I understand there's a segment of the purist horror population that hates sequels. I personally prefer original horror, but I will admit some long ongoing franchises are just plain fun every time a new one comes out. Take today's pick for number 27, for example. This is the Best in Horror Countdown, 2024 through 2025. Number 27 is Final Destination Bloodlines, aka Final Destination 6. It was released on May 16th, 2025, and is streaming now on HBO MAX from New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers. It's directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam B. Stein, and written by Guy Busick, Laurie Evans Taylor, and John Watts. After having a premonition that a high-rise restaurant is going to collapse, Iris, played by Stargirl's Breck Basinger, saves hundreds of lives by having them evacuate the building in time. As we have learned in previous Final Destination movies, death doesn't like it when lives are saved and always comes in for its just dues. Years later, Iris's granddaughter, Stephanie, played by Caitlin Santa Juana, is plagued by dreams of the building collapse and finds out that death has finally tracked down all of the survivors, and now it's Iris and her family's turn to meet their maker. While watching Final Destination Bloodlines, I found myself wondering what makes this series so popular and fun to watch. More so than any other horror franchise, the Final Destination film follows a very specific narrative structure and rarely deviates from it. Someone has a premonition that a disaster is going to occur, that someone saves a group of people, and soon the people who were supposed to have died are killed in extravagant and imaginative ways until it catches up to the one who had the premonition. For 6 movies now, that's been the basic plot, and while many film series are criticized for being repetitive, the Final Destination films seem to be immune to such criticism. Why? Well, I think most importantly, the series, even the worst of the films in it, never fail to be fun. Sure, it's dealing with death, but through one ridiculous contrivance and one Rube Goldbergian series of events after another, each death has a load of creativity dedicated to every kill. We don't go to a Final Destination film for a deep plot or strong character work. We go to see one elaborate death sequence one-up the last one over and over and over again. Yes, this appeals to our basest of instincts to gaze at that car crash on the highway as we pass, but the Final Destination series understands a winning concept and realizes that if you've got a good thing, why change it? But going a bit deeper, I feel the appeal of the Final Destination movies and horror movies in general with young audiences is that fascination with death we all have. Death is the furthest thing from the minds of the young, so the Final Destination series serves as a moral lesson for the young to let them know that death can come for them at any time, using common instruments we interact with every day as tools of the Grim Reaper. In many ways, it allows the young, and the young at heart like myself, to walk that dangerous tightrope from the safety of my own theater seat, or one's own couch. So how about Final Destination Bloodlines? How was it? You might be screaming at your monitor. It was a Final Destination movie. It followed the well-worn path made by the previous films. There's an additional twist that this time it took death 2 generations to finally track down the survivor who had that premonition, and in that time, that person had produced a family and thus passed the curse down to them. The twist makes things a little bit more convoluted and reveals a little bit more about Death's plan that most likely will be elaborated on in future installments, as this franchise is one of the most consistent, continuity-savvy, and connected series in horror history. But in the end, it's a bunch of people getting killed in ridiculous ways, again. And as I said, it's fun despite the fact that it follows the same plot as the first, second, and so on and so on. One thing I appreciate was that Final Destination Bloodlines takes the time to give a proper send-off to the one consistent character of the entire series, Tony Todd. It's obvious Todd was in poor health during the filming, but he still delivers one of the best scenes in this new film. Not only does it honor a character Todd has made classic, but it also adds a little bit of history to the character of William Bloodworth, a bit of an explanation of his origin, and explains why he knows so much about Death's plan. If anything, this film does Todd a solid for graciously allowing him the opportunity to replay one of his most iconic roles one last time. The deaths are elaborate, especially the main disaster scene, which takes a very long time to build up to. Thankfully, Breck Basinger, who plays Iris, and her boyfriend Paul, played by Max Lloyd-Jones, are strong actors and make the long anticipation for the disaster interesting all the way through. This can't be said for the rest of the cast. Aside from genre actor Richard Harmon, the rest of the cast is particularly bland. Harmon does appear in quite a few of the most memorable scenes in the film. And sure, Caitlin Santa Juana is decent as the lead, Stephanie, and carries some strong dramatic scenes, but I think a little star power added to this rather dull cast would have done this film wonders. A lot of drama, comedy, and horror had to be conveyed by this group, and I just think that some of these actors just didn't have the range to do that. I understand that the bulk of the budget is dedicated to the elaborate death sequences, but I think they could have saved a couple of shekels for a few more recognizable faces. Final Destination Bloodlines peaks early with the scene highlighted in the trailer in the tattoo shop, and later in a very memorable scene set in a hospital lab. By the time the climax of the film occurs, the threat pales in comparison to the deaths we've seen prior, though I really like the way the very final moment of this film played out. All in all, Final Destination Bloodlines is a lot of fun. It offers some gruesome effects and deadly sequences that you've never seen before, taking modern-day situations and using them in the most gory and devious of ways. This series continues to be one of my favorite horror franchises, and while I usually prefer that films show me something new and different, sometimes it's fun to rely on the comfort of a series that has perfected the concept, knows what it is, and delivers a solid, albeit familiar movie over and over again. Worth noting is another ongoing series that pops up every year on Shudder. There's actually a new one, VHS Halloween, that was just released, and I'll be reviewing that one very soon. In the meantime, worth noting is VHS Beyond. It was released on October 5th, 2025, and streaming on Shudder from Bloody Disgusting, Cinepocalypse, and Studio 71. It's directed by Jay Cheel, Jordan Downey, Virat Pal, Justin Martinez, Justin Long, Christian Long, and Kate Siegel. And it's written by Jay Cheel, Jordan Downey, Kevin Stewart, Virat Pal, Evan Dixon, Ben Turner, Justin Martinez, Christian Long, and Mike Flanagan. VHS has become a yearly tradition, and with the last few films being pretty solid focusing on specific years, they decided to try something new and different this year and leaned further into sci-fi horror. It's a subgenre full of potential, and I was looking forward to seeing what this new crop of filmmakers could do with it, even though in entries past, the concept of sci-fi horror was often played with. This time with VHS Beyond, they also tried a new format for a wraparound, leaning more towards a mockumentary style with director Jay Cheel's Abduction. While this connective tissue to the film serves as a perfectly reasonable way to tie all of the stories together, it is by far the weakest part of the whole thing. Cheel previously did the Cursed Film series for Shudder and sticks with the documentary format for this wraparound. It's just at the lead up to this big reveal where we see the videotapes of an apparent abduction in the last minute of the film, where a four-eyed gray alien appears, felt sort of anticlimactic compared to the rest of the film. This is less of a story and more of a way to tie these tales together, which is what a wraparound is supposed to do. Still, I found this lacking and the weakest parts of the movie. Now the film gets rolling, started with Jordan Downey and Kevin Stewart's truly ballistic Stork, about a team of rogue cops who search out strange and unexplained cases. This one moves extremely fast and plunges the team into a house of horrors as they investigate a spree of child abductions. I like the way the story was explained on the fly, keeping the pace brisk and punchy. Once the guns start blazing, it plays out like a first-person shooter game as the film comes from police body cams. While there are some scenes that feel staged, like when the cops line up in front of the house dramatically, the story evolves into a gleeful, blood-spattered descent into hell. Cool designs for the aliens and wanton carnage ensues. This is from the maniacs behind the truly awesome The Headhunter and the absolutely ludicrous Thanksgiving, and even pays homage to the killer bird with a disturbing and wonderfully designed bird-like alien creature in the end. Good stuff. Next up is Dream Girl by Virat Pal and Evan Dixon. Evan Dixon did a segment in VHS 85 and returns to write with Virat Pal directing, and brings a Bollywood feel to the segments about a popular actress whose beauty is too good to be true. While this one didn't rock my world, I do appreciate that the VHS series is giving some international filmmakers a chance. Still, this one left me wanting more, and I felt like I'd seen this kind of segment before. Live and Let Live by Justin Martinez and Ben Turner is probably my favorite of the bunch. A group of skydivers are hit by a UFO in the air and are focused to jump for their lives. Along with the panicking parachuters, follows a few alien creatures out to do something involving brain draining. This one gets points for the unique location as the survivors land in the middle of an orange tree plantation. It's wonderfully chaotic as the survivors scamper around the rows and rows of trees, searching for their friends and running into aliens instead. Justin Martinez and Ben Turner did segments for Southbound and the original VHS movie, and they're responsible for this gory adrenaline rush of a segment. Fur Babies is by actor Justin Long and his brother Christian Long, and it seems the Longs were inspired by Justin's work on Kevin Smith's Tusk, as basically Fur Babies has the same premise as that body horror shocker. It's about a dog sitter who has a penchant for taxidermy and body modification who is infiltrated by animal rights activists. But the activists don't know how twisted this doggy daycare truly is. I love the effects and the premise of Fur Babies. I also loved Tusk, and the dog monstrosities are quite disturbing. This has Justin Long's warped sense of humor written all over it, and while this is one of the lighter segments, it's definitely one of the more gruesome. Still, Fur Babies feels out of place compared to the rest of the more sci-fi leaning entries in this movie. Stowaway is made from a story by Mike Flanagan and is the first time directing effort from his partner/actress Kate Siegel. It follows a plucky reporter investigating the Phoenix Lights and happening upon some kind of vessel in the middle of the desert. Upon entering the vessel, she finds all sorts of otherworldly tech that is beyond understanding. This is a wonderful little story with a lot of gory creativity going on. It's by far the most complete story of the bunch, as most of the entries simply come to an abrupt ending. Stowaway has a tragic and EC Comics style poetic ending that wraps up the film strongly. VHS Beyond shows how versatile this series truly is. While adding the mockumentary style isn't new, they did it in the last one. The wraparound did work well to tie the stories together despite not really offering a payoff. I think one thing this series needs to focus on more is telling a complete story rather than relying on the tried and true "the tape just ran out" ending. Stowaway proved a solid, resonant ending is possible, and more attention to narrative would make these installments so much better. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your own favorite movies of the year. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.